Hello and welcome to a hopefully brief demo that I thought I would do regarding my upgrades to the program SLO Linguistic Analysis tool I've worked on the summer for the American River College Design Hub. So first of all, let's kind of go over a little bit of background here. So, obviously any program that is created to solve a problem. So, what is the problem that this program is attempting to solve? So, uh, all universities, or at least ARC, has what is known as programs of study. So programs of study are the degrees, certificates, or other essentially sequences of collections of classes that you need to complete to earn a degree or similar accreditation. So these programs of study have what are known as student learning outcomes. Let me see. I could have sworn it was on this page, but I guess it isn't. So they have what is known as student learning outcomes. Now these are meant to, in a way, they're meant to convey to employers what sort of skills someone with a certain degree will have. So for example, I'm looking here at the Associate in Science in Computer Science, and it says that student learning outcomes, the student will be able to evaluate various programming language solutions to a proposed problem. So an employer is able to, look at someone's resume. They say they have an AS in computer science from American River College, and that means they know, okay, this person knows how to evaluate various programming language solutions to a proposed problem. So but just because I take all the requirements for this associate in science, I don't magically gain the ability to. I don't automatically learn these outcomes. These student learning outcomes for the program are supported by the course student learning outcomes. So something such as the Assembly Language Programming for Microcomputers course, so topics include the mapping of statements and constructs in a high-level language onto sequences of machine instructions. So that might be sort of a student learning outcome. Learn how to map statements and constructs in a high-level language onto sequences of machine instructions. So courses have student learning outcomes, which support the student learning outcomes of the degree that they are required for. So assembly language programming is required for this one. So essentially, what this means is if this degree says, students will be able to do this, then it needs to have courses that support those program SLOs. Otherwise, the employer will expect students to be able to do this when in reality they cannot. So it's important that the course learning outcomes mesh up. They support what the programs support, and that's what the Student Learning Outcome Assessment Committee basically does. They, every so often, I think it's every couple years maybe, it's not really often, but suppose, for example, they're here and they're auditing the Associate in Science and Computer Science. They will go through each of these courses and ensure that each of these student learning outcomes are met. And if they aren't, well then, obviously things need to change. So, of course, this can be a problem because, as you can see, American River College offers a lot of programs of study. So, and each of these programs of study each have a lot of courses. So it is very time consuming to, manually look at all of them and say, okay, well, if, for example, I look at, evaluate various programming language solutions to a proposed problem, none of these are going to use that. None of these are guaranteed to use the exact same wording. The meaning of the learning outcomes might match up, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So it's very time consuming to compare them, so that makes it difficult for the committee to get this done in a timely manner, which is where the program SLO Linguistic Analysis tool, that is the problem it was designed to solve. So, as I said, English, when you think about it, is there are a lot of different ways to say the exact same thing. So, of course, I could say one thing, or I could say something one way, or I could say it another way, and kind of one way you can, get a general sense of how, whether two sentences mean the same thing as you kind of look at the synonyms for the various parts of them. So, as I said here, so you'll evaluate various programming language solutions to solve a proposed problem. You know, you'll look at some of these and say, okay, well, if one of these things here involves a certain level, a certain number of synonyms for words in this, it's pretty likely that it can resolve this student learning outcome. And so that's what this program does. So I'm the accounting degree. Seems to recall that was a pretty interesting one here. So essentially, when I click that button, what it's going to do is it's going to read through a file containing all of the information about programs and courses at ARC, and it's going to find all the student learning outcomes for this program, as well as all the student learning outcomes for all the classes of that program. For each of those SLOs, it is going to find the grammar structure of each of those sentences. So essentially, it's going to go, okay, what are the nouns of the sentence? What's the verbs of the sentence? How do they all relate to one another? What are the clauses? So I'm not an English major, so I don't understand all of it, but that's essentially what it does. And then with each of those grammar structures, it's going to find synonyms. So some words, when they're a noun, they have a certain set of synonyms. When they're a verb, they have a certain other set of synonyms. And so it essentially takes the SLOs, breaks it down into its grammar structure, and finds the synonyms for that grammar structure. And then when it's all done with that, it's going to, so say for example here, it's going to find all of the synonyms for every word in this sentence, all of the synonyms for every word in all of these student learning outcomes, and it's going to see how well it matches. So let's see how well it does match. 8, I'm not sure if that's a good number to have. So as you can see here, this accounting 112, it's not a very good course apparently. Oh, well that's why it doesn't have any student learning outcomes. So whereas this one here, accounting 125, it does not meet this requirement for auditing financial statements and expressing appropriate opinions on those statements. So you get the general gist of it. That's kind of the process that it works. And if you've done any amount of programming, you know that it's obviously very time consuming to read through a whole file and do this grammar analysis. The grammar analysis is really the longest part. And run through all of that, finding synonyms and all that stuff. So it's very time consuming. So this program is complete. It works as intended. The only problem is it's a little bit on the slow side. That's essentially what I've been sent to do this semester, well, this summer, is in general speeding it up. Which takes me to the improvements that I have done. So I've really done a couple of major improvements to this. It's kind of like, you obviously can't tell. Nothing has changed about this screen in particular. So let's take a look at what I have done differently. So let's go back to that. No, not community services education. That's an interesting major. Never heard of it before. Go back to the computer science degree and let's generate this report. So as you can see, it loaded pretty fast that time, so everything else looks the same except for this. Oh, I've overwritten this one, so I'll get on the overrides in a minute here. So, how long did that one take to? Okay, so it took only 1.3 seconds. So, really, a lot of what I have done this semester is a lot of caching type of stuff. So, essentially, instead of having the program have to reparse the grammar structure, refind all the synonyms, relook up all the matches and everything. It's able to remember these things a lot better now. So it used to remember the grammar just the grammar structure. So at least that sped it up a bit. But apart from that, it didn't remember all these synonyms that it found. So that was one way I've sped it up. So similarly, previously the process of finding synonyms for words was done in sequence. So say for example, here we have evaluate limits graphically, analytically by using the L'Hopital's rule. So it would go, okay, first find synonyms for evaluate. Once it's done with that, find synonyms for limits. After that, find synonyms for graphically, and that's very slow because you have a lot of these waiting on each other to do that. So I made all these run in parallel, and as you can see, this thing alone has like what 30 different words, and so all of those are running more or less at the same time. So that sped that up quite a bit. Similarly, it does the grammar parsing in parallel now, I believe. I'd have to look at that. But so essentially just minimize the amount of time the computer is spending waiting, just waiting for something to happen. So, and make it do more things at once. So have it kind of multitask like that. And when it's done, when it finds, okay, what are the synonyms for formulates? When it's done with that, it just stores them away later. So whenever I have to ask it to find the synonyms for formulate again, it can just look at that and say, oh, I've already found those. So that's one way that it has sped it up. I'm looking at my notes here. So yeah, so kind of another feature that this program has is what's known as overrides. So as we all know, it's never a good idea to make everything depend on the robots. So we wouldn't want our entire curriculum just dictated by so say for example, evaluate the theories and core techniques of computer science using the scientific methods. And let's say, for example, CISP 440 doesn't fit that. Well, we have to be able to tell the program that it is incorrect. This should not be a match. So we can click that change there, and you will see it highlights. So another one of my coworkers implemented this feature. So we can also say, okay, maybe I decide that Math 401 actually does fulfill this requirement. So I had previously overwritten it, so I can change that as well. If I could, there we go. And you can also leave reviews of the programs down there, but I haven't really worked with that much. So the overrides basically enable faculty to override what the program has thinks it says okay. Let's say I say no, this one does not, and let's say yes, this one does. So I can submit that, so override added successfully. So let's go back to Computer Information Science, Associate's Degree, and Computer Science. So the overrides allow faculty to modify what the program has found. So those have changed. So that's very good. So yeah, so basically the override system ensures that the employees have, the faculty have the final say and not the programmers like me and everyone else who has worked on this project. So let me see here. Was there anything else I wanted to go over here? So for the most part, that's, how the speeding up has gone. So most of my other work has been on the basic overall structure of the thing. So previously, we had a database, and we didn't really have any way of regenerating it. So if the tables got deleted, then, well, that's it. We have to figure out what they were supposed to look like. So this will automatically generate those. In addition, you can automatically upgrade it to whatever structure it needs to have in case something changes. And there's also, so the courses and everything, those are stored in an XML file, and anyone who has dealt with these kind of files, they are very large and they are very hard to read through. So this just runs through the process of storing the entire thing. So suppose that our student learning outcomes have changed for something, and we just run that, and it took like 7 seconds. It took 7 seconds to just update everything about the website. So that's very nice. And we can do this to run the grammar parsing early. So let's say, what is it? Funeral services education. So this is going to basically run the grammar ahead of time, since, as I said, it remembers the grammar structure once it's found it, and this just basically forces it to find it right now and save it for later, if it will ever load. So, as you can see, the grammar parsing is very slow. It can take up to 30 seconds, I think. So, not a very good experience for the user of the website. And there we go. So it's, some of them will go a little bit faster since it's already yeah, see, recreation major, that's an interesting one. I haven't heard of that. So yeah, so 377, 377 total programs of study. That's a lot. So, and this just helps make it all load a little bit faster. So that's kind of my really strange overview of the program SLO linguistic analysis tool and the upgrades I've made. A lot of the upgrades I've made are very technical in nature, so they're kind of hard to explain. But that's just kind of an overview I thought I would do. So thank you for watching.